Most people operate within a baseline psychological state where survival instincts power down. We step onto our property, connect to a home network, lock the front door, and drop our guard. We treat these spaces as a sanctuary. This sense of safety relies on an invisible social contract. We move through our day assuming that a stranger will look at a wooden fence, a locked deadbolt, or a basic societal norm and respect that boundary without being forced to. Suburban privacy and modern conveniences have pushed our perceived perimeters further from our immediate line of sight. By outsourcing our security to the quiet of a cul-de-sac or the vetting process of a digital app, we often reduce the time spent actively monitoring our actual physical surroundings. When a predator decides to ignore those social norms, the fragility of these modern boundaries becomes clear. 3 real-world case studies demonstrate how easily those imaginary lines are crossed. The horror in these events stems from a specific physical vulnerability, the fact that the only barrier keeping a monster out of your space is a thin sheet of glass, a nylon zipper, or sheer dumb luck. In our first case study, a 7-year-old boy set up a tent in a spacious backyard. Because his parents were sitting inside the house, he assumed he was in a secure zone. But looking closely at the thin camouflage material of the tent, it offers zero physical protection against an outside threat. Once inside, his awareness was further limited. Wrapped in a sleeping bag, the young boy focused entirely on the glowing screen of a Game Boy Advance SP, playing Super Mario World. The combination of the bright light and the game audio completely severed his attention from the dark, quiet yard outside. He woke up later that night to see the tent zipper very slowly dragging downward, creating a small gap near the bottom seal. Paralyzed, he looked through the opening. Staring directly back at him from the darkness was the simple white eye of a grown man, squinting into a smile. The boy's father chased the man off, but the physical boundary was tested again weeks later. During recess at the school, that same man approached the boy from the street side of the chain-link fence. He asked for directions, then smiled and said, "You don't remember me, do you?" The proximity of parents or teachers meant nothing to this predator. He viewed the yard and the school fence as purely psychological barriers, rather than physical ones that needed to be respected. Our second case study involves a vetted digital transaction. A young man agreed to buy furniture off Facebook Marketplace from a seemingly straightforward, polite seller. He drove to a remote property in the foggy coastal landscape of Oregon to pick up the items at dusk. The address led him down a long dirt driveway to a massive, isolated house. The backyard ended abruptly in a sheer, rocky cliffside, dropping directly into the ocean, a geographic layout that offered no easy escape route. A sticky note on the front door directed him to go around back. When he finally reached the rear of the house, he found that the blinds on every window were fully opened. Standing behind the glass at each window was a person, perfectly still, staring at him and smiling. He fled immediately. A subsequent call to the actual homeowner revealed he was out of town. When police arrived, the Facebook profile was gone. The house was empty, and every door had been left unlocked. Digital marketplaces leverage our tendency towards social politeness. The expectation of a standard transaction can override survival instincts, leading victims into isolated environments where the usual social contract no longer applies. The final scenario takes place in a private, wooded backyard in Pennsylvania. While preparing for a pool party, the homeowner heard a deliberate cough from the tree line. Because it was his private property, he dismissed the sound and hosted 20 guests throughout the evening. At 2 a.m., long after the guests had left, the homeowner heard a heavy splash. From his second-story window, he watched a stranger, illuminated by the underwater pool lights, calmly swimming methodical laps from one end of the pool to the other. The homeowner yelled out the window, but the stranger didn't run. He climbed out of the water, looked directly at the house, and marched toward the back door. Seconds later, the homeowner heard the back sliding glass door, which he had specifically locked, slide open. As the homeowner called 911, he listened to slow, wet footsteps crossing the hardwood floor. The intruder walked with purpose, moving directly up the stairs and stopping exactly outside the homeowner's locked bedroom door. After jiggling the handle and knocking 3 times, the man spoke through the door in a calm, flat voice. "It's me. Open the door." This encounter illustrates the terror of audacity. This intruder didn't sneak. He moved with the entitlement of an invited guest, proving that a locked door is a psychological deterrent that only works on those who choose to respect it. In these cases, victims survived because they recognized the breach immediately and took split-second action. Their physical perimeters failed instantly, leaving their own awareness as the final line of defense. The boundaries we rely on to protect our routines, a nylon zipper, a digital profile, a glass door, become functionally imaginary the moment someone decides to ignore them. Real security requires a shift in how we view our surroundings. We have to accept that the social contract is a one-way street, constantly being tested by people who operate entirely outside of it. Tonight, as you check your locks, consider the actual strength of the barriers you rely on. Stop assuming that a polite boundary is enough to keep a monster out.